Thank you for downloading, subscribing, and telling your friends about the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. This episode is sponsored in part by Blue Shark Vodka. All the taste without the bite. Blue Shark Vodka, coming out of Wilmington, North Carolina. And by Spot On, tech that helps your business grow. And now, coming to you from the ass end of Tony's taco tube, one's a salsa picante, the other's a kosher dill. It's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss, and we are getting spicy today. Already one of my favorite guests because she brought us her wares. She brought us chips and Mama's Salsa. That's right, the creator, the maker, the everything for Mama's Salsa, Crystal Harris.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Hola, Mama.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we got a Californian in the house. Yes.
Native.
That's right. And you've been around. You've been circling these waters of our podcast for years.
Yes.
I've very much appreciated Matt. I don't know if he appreciates anything, but I appreciate your support. You've always commented. I assume you've listened to a couple episodes or so.
Absolutely.
And and you are a fixture in this food community, and I like there are certain people, certain brands, I should say, that do that type of business where they don't step on anyone's toes, they just kind of enhance. It's like I parallel it to, say, Anthony Scalabrini of Oak City Amaretto. It's like he's not going up against whiskey or gin or Blue Shark vodka. He's just a liqueur that can be added to something and enhance. And your salsa, when I open my refrigerator and I see Mama's Salsa in my house, it just makes me happy. And I feel like it just unlocks all this cooking potential.
Yes.
Like 100%. I just look at them, I could do anything today. I have all of this at my fingertips, and it's great. Matt's already eaten half the salsa before we even started the show.
Shoveling it in.
That's right.
Yeah. But let's talk about it. You make salsa.
I do.
How long have you been making salsa? Yeah.
So I've been making salsa, my whole life. I grew up in a Mexican household, so I watched my grandma make salsa. I watched my mom make salsa. It was a joke, if the salsa was spicy, you knew Mom was pissed.
Mom was pissed.
My mom was mad if it was super spicy. It was just she's in a mood.
You guys misbehaved today.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add some picante.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't follow. You're saying because your mom made the salsa.
My mom would make the salsa.
She would make salsa spicy with anger if your kids were bothering you. See, my mom, also a fellow Mexican American, can eat the hottest food known to man. Anyone that follows any type of hot sauce business, Dave's Insanity Sauce, that's way up there in the Scoville units. I'm sure there are many others that are far higher, but Dave's is really hot. My mom will eat Dave's Insanity Sauce like salsa.
Oh my gosh.
She'll just dip a chip intense. And eat it. She's like, that's nice. It's got a little kick to it. I'm like, Mom, you're killing your insides. But I kind of think with all that vitamin C that comes from peppers, maybe this is going to make her live forever.
Probably.
Yeah, she's super healthy and strong.
You can also when you eat super spicy stuff, it unlocks
serotonin or some chemicals.
One time I made a Chipotle salsa and I was eating it and I'm like, what is happening right now? I feel like I just had some wine.
Yeah.
Because it was so hot, but it was just I feel really good right now.
Right. It releases endorphins.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what
endorphins?
Awesome.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. Endorphins.
Yeah.
And probably is some sort of antioxidant. And you're also start to sweat, so you get rid of a bunch of stuff.
You know what? Doesn't necessarily always release endorphins, but definitely releases the beast. Is when I sip on a nice delicious martini,
Oh, what would you make that martini with?
First, I start with salsa. Just to put on the side, and I take a couple chips. But then I get some ice and I get some Blue Shark vodka.
Yes.
And I pour, you're supposed to pour maybe 3 or 4 ounces, maybe 8 ounces for a martini, whatever you want. No judgment here. No judgment zone.
You want.
And you shake it up. I choose to shake it up with Blue Shark vodka because it's made with non-GMO heirloom variety North Carolina sweet corn, which is distilled 4 times into perfection. Right there. you already had me. You got North Carolina, you got local farming, you got distilling, you got non-GMO. It's all the things that really you should be looking for when you're trying to source local and do things. And on top of it, it's delicious vodka that allows you to make any type of cocktail you want to have. For the folks at Blue Shark Vodka, the small batch process is a labor of love. After distilling the corn 4 times, the mash mallows for 28 days, allowing flavors to fully bloom and awaken. Finally, each batch is triple filtered, giving the vodka a smooth, clean finish and making the alcohol less bitey. It's Blue Shark Vodka, the shark that doesn't bite. Non-GMO, heirloom sweet corn. Go visit Blue Shark Vodka.
I want a martini right now. And, you know, you're an entrepreneur. We talk to all types of entrepreneurs, restaurateurs on this podcast, and some of them are making innovative new tacos or salsas, and they're perfecting the classic brisket, but they are all working to turn that love of food into a business, and that's often the bigger challenge. Our newest sponsor is here to help. Spot On works with popular local restaurants like the Ruddy Duck Tavern and the Village Market in eastern North Carolina, getting them set up with new technology they need to stay competitive in this industry. It's the kind of tech that the chain down the street is already using, but made specifically for you, such as a cloud-based point-of-sale system that not only takes orders and payments, but also ties in online ordering to takeout and delivery. Then it breaks down all the data so you can tweak your menu or set your staff schedule. From fine dining to food trucks, Spot On's integrated restaurant management system can help make running a restaurant less stressful and more successful. And you can get this end-to-end solution built specifically for your needs by a real person, Tanya Maniwo. She's a local Spot On account executive, and she'll be your partner the whole step of the way. Give her a call, 858-213-7820. That's Tanya M. at spoton.com.
You grew up in a household where mom made the salsa, whether she liked you or not, and regardless of the heat index. This was something that was kind of this is your upbringing. This is where you kind of centered yourself. Where exactly were you in California?
So I grew up in Southgate.
Southgate.
Yeah, it was literally like 10 minutes from Compton. 5 minutes from Compton.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Isn't it Rancho Dominguez Hills now? Isn't that what they call it?
Probably to make it sound fancy.
Yeah. They
Well,
changed.
homes are probably millions of dollars anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really sell property like, oh, it's luxury Compton homes. Like, oh, what? But if we called it Rancho Dominguez Hills, which I think is what they call it now, the Compton still exists. But yeah,
Yes.
it quickly, right around the rim, they like renamed the whole thing. It's branding, everyone. Okay, so you grew up kind of in the hood, a little
Kind of,
bit.
sort of. Once I hit middle school, we moved to Bellflower, which was a nicer area from where we were, and that's where I grew up from middle school until I graduated high school.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so, all right, well, let's take a little bit of a jump. We can go back in your story a little bit, but why are you here in North Carolina?
So my husband is from here. We met in Dallas. We went to I don't really know how to explain the school. It was kind of like a Bible school. A lot of 18-year-olds, we would go, there was like a main campus, and we would go and help the community out, grow our relationship with God, focus on things that were interesting to us, like music or arts or anything like that. So that's where we met. He is from here, and that's why I'm here.
All right.
Yeah. We wanted to raise our family.
And you went
I wanted to raise my family here.
and you went to Dallas because you were going to that school.
Yes, I was going to that school. I spent 4 years there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you came to North Carolina, so the story goes that you started making Mexican food and salsa just like for your friends, for your get-togethers with your kids and the parties. And I guess the moms or the other parents, dads said, this is damn good. Like,
Yes.
how do we get more of this?
Pretty much. They paid me to make a spread. Tortillas, rice, beans, picadillo. I had a bunch of salsa in jars, so I was like, just take the salsa. I made chips, gave it to them. There was an event at our church where the moms were like, you know, they have businesses, so all the moms come and bring your business, showcase your business, we'll shop around. So I was like, well, let me just try to make some chips and salsa and see what happens. So I was up at midnight frying chips in this little pot, making batches of salsa, and I took it that morning and I sold out. Everyone was raving about the salsa.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think I have something here. I'm going to run with it because I love food. I love cooking. And we're just going to see where this goes.
Were you doing were you working at the time, or were you?
No, I was not.
You were
working.
raising your
I was
family.
raising my boys. Going back to my high school days, I grew up in the kitchen. I loved food. I loved cooking. I wanted to be a chef. That was my dream. I remember going to like the Art Institute in, I can't even think of the city, somewhere in LA with my dad and touring the campus. And so I did that, and that was the goal. That was what I was going to do. I was also a crazy teenager who got into drinking, got into drugs, and kind of spiraled. I hit a rock, and my parents were like, I'm sorry, but we're not going to support your dreams of going, like, we're not going to invest the money for you to go do that if you're not going to take it seriously. And we don't see that you are right now. So it was literally like, go to this school that I kind of knew a little bit about it, go to the school or go to a rehab program. And I was like, I'm not going to a rehab program. My parents worked for the rehab program, and I'm not doing that. I'm not at that point where that's where I need to go.
Both your parents? That's
what they did for a living. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, if you want to go back into that, my dad was a heroin addict, drug addict before he had me and met my mom. And he went to this program. It's called Teen Challenge. They're all over the nation. He went to the program. His life was completely changed. He totally changed, like a 360. And so he ended up devoting his life to mentoring people who went through the same issues that he did for 20 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when they were seeing you drinking and doing these, talk about hitting close to home.
Absolutely.
Does it translate? I know, like, I don't know if it's real or not, but is that addictive trait hereditary, or is it a lot of times like environmental?
I think it's both. I think I was thinking about that the other day. I think just like how personalities pass on. Like people say, oh, you're a lot like your dad, or you do this like your mom. And so I think those are certain things that get passed down. Like if you have like an addictive personality, or if you I think that's what gets passed on.
I'm just wondering if it's like nurture or nature. You know what I mean? Like, were you born with an addictive personality, or is it that you observed an addictive person and you're like, oh, okay, I see how that works.
Yeah.
And so for good or bad, more often than not bad, you're like, yeah, that seems like a realistic way to live. And so you then carry that.
Growing up, I saw that it wasn't a realistic way to live. Like I was talking to my parents at some point, I'm like, do you know you raised me around drug addicts and like pretty crazy people? Like that was my environment. But I mean, they were constantly watching me. I was never put in dangerous situations, but I got to see people come in at their worst and their lives get totally changed, for the better. And so it was like, I see what it was. But I mean, when you're a teenager, you kind of just... You have to find out for yourself.
Yeah, you're in an egocentric point of way, and you're like, wait, so how does this affect me?
Yeah.
And what does that matter to me? So were both your parents, is your dad Mexican as well?
My dad passed away, but he was Mexican. My mom was born in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
And what part of Mexico?
She was born in Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to the salsa, and
yes.
I don't want to get away from your story. No. I love because it colors, obviously, what you do today in the background, but... the salsa that you make, is that a style indicative of Monterrey, or is there different, does there get regionally specific
There's
salsa
so many
making?
different ways to make salsa. I mean, I actually got to travel there with her a couple of years ago.
Oh, cool.
And like my family was like, you make salsa, so let me take you to all the places that have salsa and tacos. Like literally every morning we're eating tacos for breakfast. But I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, obviously it tastes better there than you can find at like, Moe's or somewhere like that. But there's just so many different styles. I'm sorry. But I mean, like there's salsa that you can make with coffee. There's salsa that's mostly oil. And like, there's just so many different.
Yeah.
So the salsa that I make is not necessarily like, I guess so, like the chipotle and the spicy tomatillo, those are kinds that you would find there,
okay.
I think, yeah. And the avocado as well.
Like our point of reference for salsa, I think in this country, unless you and there are a lot of authentic Mexican restaurants, but there's a lot of the Tex-Mex, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just like tomatoes, onions, some sort of pepper, and then like cilantro or whatever, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
But like, so what different do you do in your, like, because we tried your restaurant style and that was delicious. So
Thank you.
maybe there's also probably some garlic in there. And what else is in there?
So
Give us the recipe.
I
Tell us how to make it.
I love our salsas. I mean, the avocado lime is totally raw. That salsa is not cooked. But for the other salsas, there's just a technique that goes to it. Like each salsa has a different technique to it. So what I do with the restaurant style is totally different than what I do with the chipotle salsa. Roasting is involved with the tomatillo, boiling is involved, charring is involved. So each one has a different process. And I just like to build, I think it's layers of flavor. It's not just throw everything in a blender and then this is what you get. It's kind of like taking time to make sure every ingredient has its own flavor.
So do you start out to say, okay, I'm going to make an avocado lime or I'm going to make a chipotle and then it comes together, like, and then so you know the technique and the process leading up to that? Or just sometimes just based on how it's evolving or what's seasonal, or how does it work?
So my 4 flavors are the flavors that we do year round.
So she knows what she's doing when she's doing it.
Yes, I know what I'm doing.
I don't know how I found myself just holding these tomatillos, but I guess I'll just
boil
use
them?
Yeah. But you roast your tomatillos, right?
For some of the recipes I do, for the avocado, like I said, it's raw, and that's a family recipe, one that I grew up eating. So yeah, it's just, I take a lot of inspiration, like the avocado, the tomatillo, those are family recipes that I grew up eating. The restaurant style is something that reminds me of my childhood growing up in LA. My best friend's mom, she was white, and she would make this delicious restaurant style salsa, and that's what that reminds me of.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's not what my mom would make. That's what her mom would make.
Yeah.
So, it's just different.
Because that's definitely, I think, when people think of salsa,
Yeah.
in a more general sense, that's what you think of.
Yeah.
But then also, so your salsa, I'm assuming there's no preservatives.
No.
You're just putting it in your own mason jars, and then
Yes.
you're putting your label on it. So how long? Like, what's the shelf life of something like
So
that?
the avocado lime and the restaurant style, I would say 2 weeks tops. And then the chipotle and tomatillo, 3 to 4 weeks, because I do add some vinegar in there. But it is fresh, so it's still, they all have to stay refrigerated.
Gotcha. Okay. And like,
This ain't no New York City pace picante.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
But
in
I
the
also
car.
grew up eating paste picante. So,
okay.
Do you remember that commercial?
Wait, is it pace?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
paste.
Which is funny because wouldn't it be like pache if you actually were speaking Spanish? Pace picante. They're like, where's this salsa come from? New York City. New York City. Get a rope. Don't you remember that? They're like literally going to murder a person who just bought non-regionally specific salsa.
Wow.
Yeah, like these are tough times.
Yeah.
Once I shot a man for snoring. Like, all this stuff just coming around.
Violence and
Over some
aggression
salsa.
over salsa.
Yeah,
Serious
wow. Those
business.
Time Life magazine ads and all that. Jesse James once shot a man for snoring. And then it'd be like the Old West was legit crazy. But
Yes.
I don't want to go completely back, but I kind of do want to go back to the addictive part of things, only because, well, for one, I'm about to pour some coffee and there's going to be some caffeine inside of all that.
Yes.
But are you a sober person?
I am.
Like completely straight up? You don't do a little tequila on Cinco de Mayo? You
I don't.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that took a lot to get to that point, just as an adult and saying, hey, I can kind of do whatever I want. But it's like, no, I can't really do whatever I want. Like,
How long has that been for you?
a couple years now.
Okay.
I just know myself. I know my family. I know our history. And I know that for myself, I'm just better without it.
Right.
Yeah.
More productive.
Yeah.
So when you back to the story about
Yes.
starting the business,
Yes.
so you brought it to this fair of your
Yes.
kids' school or
The church,
Oh,
yeah.
you brought it to the church, and you said, I have something.
Yeah.
So what was the next step you took?
So the next step, honestly, that was a blur. I literally had just had my youngest son. It was like a couple months after. I think the next step for me was going to farmers markets and seeing what was being offered at the markets, talking to different vendors and seeing, hey, this is my idea. What do I need to do? And Preeti with Chini was one of the first people that I met, just kind of like, hey, I'm Crystal. Like, this is what I want to do. And she was so helpful. Like, she didn't even know me. And she was like, this is what you need. This is where I get my labels printed. This is the kind of kitchen you need to work out of. And so, like, all these things. And it was it was pretty awesome to meet her, and then just know, like, she's like, here's my number, here's my email. If you ever need anything, just reach out. I'll help you with whatever you need. So going to the markets, seeing what I needed to do. And then initially I didn't go that route of getting the kitchen. I went on Facebook and I was like, who wants salsa? Like, I'm making salsa today. Yeah. You can pick it up this weekend. Give me your orders. And then literally, like, the orders just kept growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, okay.
This
now
is
you're legit.
Occupying the entire home kitchen.
Pretty
like,
much.
Kids are like, I can't make grilled cheese, Mom. You've taken all the burners. Like, what's going on?
So
it's like dinner's not on the table anymore, but we have salsa and chips. So.
Yeah. So that's where it went from there. And then I think I got a kitchen, a pretty amazing kitchen where I have the space to do what I need to do. And we got signed up for our first farmer's market, which was, I think, Midtown, North Hills.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah. I remember when you first started doing that. I think we met when I was still at Midtown. Maybe.
I met you at Two Roosters grand opening.
Oh, that's right.
And I straight up went up to you and I was like, hey, I listened to your podcast. I'm Crystal. This is what I do. And
that's right.
That's how I met you.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's quiet down because Max, his hat is not going to fit anymore.
What was I wearing? No, that's cool. And also, I think you belong to the Californians in Raleigh Facebook page. Felicia created that page. I don't know, like, sometimes people don't really, like, it's blown up. There are thousands of people on that page, which means that there are a lot of Californians that shared the same thoughts that we did, which was like, oh, North Carolina seems so much nicer. California's a shit show nowadays.
It's just rough.
California reminds me of, like, a once beautiful woman that just got way too much work done, and now you're just on the back end of life.
There's no turning
and you're
back.
Just like, oh man, what happened? What happened to that? Because I'll go back and it's like, yeah, the sunsets are beautiful, and like some of the buildings are really cool, and there's definitely a lot of great places to eat, but it is mired in like horrible traffic. The homelessness problem is really sad. It's extremely sad. And
wildfires,
like
dirt,
it's trash. It's just
water dry.
Really and it's bad. Gray. Like when you first fly in, everything's gray, and you're like, "Where am I?"
Yeah, you're like,
"Where's the trees?"
Used to be the greatest state in the union. Yeah. That's like what I was sold growing up. Like, oh, I live in the best place. It's like, oh, how sad that just fell apart.
Well, obviously, after you and I both left, I mean.
Oh yeah, we were holding. We were holding up the foundation.
Me too.
And you too. Yeah, after we all left California.
Yeah. What year did you come here?
So it was 2012.
Oh yeah. Oh, so you predate me. I was 2013, the end of 2013. So, yeah. And how do you like it now? Let's talk about North Carolina.
Yeah,
versus
I love it.
Living life out there.
I mean, I straight up went from Southgate, Compton area. Bellflower. I mean, the neighbors are like, you can touch their house. It's so close to, I mean, we live in the country. Like my boys barefoot running out in the fields, like totally different from what I grew up with. And I love it. I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. And that's more indicative of where your husband, like that, because he was from, now, was he from the same area, like outside of Raleigh? Because you said like Wendell area is where you're at?
Yep.
So this is home to him. This is like what he brought you to his home.
Yes, he did.
And you have like the in-laws, and you have family out here now.
My in-laws are literally 30 seconds away from me.
Oh, okay.
Like right down.
Do you ever get them to help make some salsa?
Not yet. They actually have their own business. They're food truck owners.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Any shout out to them?
Chicken Q. Shout out to Chicken Q.
Chicken Q.
One of the OG food trucks in this area. Mm-hmm.
Do they use your salsa in any of their stuff?
Not yet, no.
What? What's up, Chicken Q? Come on. We had you and then we lost you.
Yeah, seriously.
Just kidding.
Not yet. Working on it.
I'm feeling a little sleepy here today.
I know.
I've got like a food coma from eating all those chips and salsa. And I was wondering if Joe Van Gogh could help pick me up.
Well, yeah, and the nice part is we actually have a new coffee to talk about. This is Joe Van Gogh's Organic Mexican Grapos Reserve, which is really delicious.
Everything is so in sync today.
It
I
is.
know. We were like, oh,
It's almost like you
kind of
planned
cool.
it.
We're doing salsa and we have Mexican coffee. Like, why not? The Grappos Co-op was created in 2007 and made a tremendous impact for the small traditional farmers by creating avenues and resources to get their harvest not only in the market but certified, which allowed them to be competitive in the marketplace, in international marketplaces. And it has gone from the initial producers of 90 to well over 2,700 members, which is pretty amazing because this type of like co-op mentality really does raise and lift the farmers to be able to cultivate whatever they can do, and they get support from the group in itself. What we're going to drink here has flavor notes of graham cracker, apricot, and tamarind, which sounds so awesome. Kind of high altitude coffee coming in around 1,600 to 1,800 feet above sea level. The varieties, cultivars, are bourbon, typica, and maracea. So let's try some of this.
Nice. I'm excited.
I'm going to. I don't know, Matt. This coffee was brewed kind of like we 1-2 punched this one, and you've been making delicious coffee these last 3 weeks. I've been doing a decent job, but let's see how this kind of works out as a little Voltron style. We both contributed. There truly is something different about drinking coffee that's brewed this way and poured into Chemex and just taking time than just like your typical drip coffee. Like this is like treat yourself right here.
This is treat yourself.
This is luxurious living.
So go to joevangocoffee.com. Check out their locations. They have them in Hillsborough, Durham, Raleigh, in the neighboring areas as well. You can find out more information about them at joevango.com. So, ooh, that is delicious.
you.
I know
It is
coffee
good.
and salsa totally work. That's
Well, especially Mexican coffee and salsa.
good. Mexican coffee, Mexican salsa.
salsa.
Yeah.
Works.
So how like nowadays you're selling at farmers markets?
Yes. Mhm.
And then I assume we could still order online as well, or is
So-
it exclusively through markets, or you're in some local grocery as well?
So right now, yes, the farmers markets, you can pre-order sometimes. I do everything on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to pre-order, you can send me a message, but also Rebus Works in downtown Raleigh carries our salsa. We deliver there every Friday. And Elk Local Foods in Apex.
Okay.
We deliver there every Friday as well. And then sometimes Raleigh Cheesy in Apex.
Raleigh cheese.
Raleigh Cheesy.
What's
That's new.
that?
I've never heard of that.
It's a charcuterie store.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
It's in Apex.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I love it. You're
know.
schooling us on the thing.
Yeah, she just opened her store. They have boards, like you can purchase boards, you can pre-order. Then they also have a lot of local goods in their refrigerator section. So yeah.
You know, that brings up a good point. Matt and I have had our head in the sand for a little while, being with the pandemic and all, and we just life gets caught up. There were so many times where we just knew all of the things that were happening in the town, and it's like we kind of were on the edge of it. Now I find that many times people are telling us that are just like friends that understand. Steven Such, who's a good friend, he just texted me this morning at 8 a.m. Thankfully, I was awake, Steven. But about a really cool pop-up barbecue thing that's happening. He's like, bro, this is your next episode. I'm like, oh,
Sweet.
okay. And then, of course, Terry, the aforementioned Terry, is always providing this.
Terry.
Harry's got his ear to the ground.
It's awesome.
So let this be saying it out into the world, into the universe, that if you know of stories, you yourself that are the listener, know of stories of some food purveyors that are out there that maybe could get a little light shined on them, shoot us an email or direct message on Instagram or whatever. You can go Max or Matt at ncfbpodcast.com, or just hit us up at ncfbpod on Instagram. It's the easiest way to communicate. But we do get a lot of people that do submit and they ask and all that. We're always looking for the stories that we haven't already told, mainly, so it's like we do a lot of brewery episodes, but there's a lot of beer. We do a lot of barbecue episodes because there's a lot of barbecue. But it is fun to hear about the pop-up ramen shop that happened, the bread, the salsa maker that comes out here and enhances everybody else's businesses. So things like that, I would highly encourage you to
for sure.
reach us out, and because in the end, like
Reach us out?
reach us out, whatever. Reach us out.
Let it
Reach
happen.
us outward.
Reach us
Inward
out.
we are reaching.
Reach us out. Put that on a
Reach
t-shirt.
us out.
So I want to get into like salsa though.
Yes.
Like let's kind of think about the study of salsa. For one, salsa traditionally is free. Salsa just is this thing that is ubiquitous on every traditional Mexican restaurant's table, served with chips. And if you're like me or my family, we're already full by the time the food gets here because I'm already 4 bowls of chips in and like 9 cups of salsa. I love that that's something that you immediately get greeted with at a restaurant, but I also realize that's a huge expense that just kind of just gets thrown away and no one ever talks about. And then you do something that is like high craft, such as yours. Heaven forbid anyone ever just poured your salsa out without putting some money behind it. But I was thinking about it on the economic level earlier. It's like salsa just gets thrown in as an afterthought so many times at places. But you truly, if you care at all about your dining experience, getting that free salsa at the beginning, if it's not right, it sets you off on the wrong foot. And you're like, oh, is everything else going to suck at this restaurant?
Yeah, I was
if it's
just
not
talking
good?
to a customer, and they're like, if I go to the restaurant and the salsa sucks, like, I'm done. Their salsa's not good, then what's the food going to taste like? Like, this is not... I'm not there
because
for
mainly
it.
for that reason too. It's like
it's
if
your
you're
calling
using,
card.
If you're
Salsa, I think a lot of people, just think chips and salsa, but salsa is actually like, when you really look at authentic and traditional Mexican recipes, all of the dishes have salsa in them. They make a sauce. Salsa is just sauce in Spanish.
Yeah.
And they use that whether it is to stew meat or cook your beans or, marinate something. It's just, I think it's just a staple. It's not just something that you use for chips. And that's something that I tried to show my customers is that, yes, you can eat the chips with the salsa, but also if you look on my Instagram, I'm using it for mac and cheese, fettuccine alfredo, as a marinade, as a salad dressing, as something to stew my meat in, as a base for my soup. So
throw it in as a replace of water for a rice cooker. And
I've done that.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah, so
make the best Mexican rice, like Spanish rice or whatever. You just throw.
Also,
I usually throw a cheap pot of you
don't want to use the good stuff on it.
No, I'm going to be using yours to taste.
And no water?
It depends on how
How thick it is.
the salsa is. Sometimes you get like the pico de gallo that's mainly like water with big chunks, and I might not use much water. But if it's like, say, something that you have here, I would probably put a little bit of water to cut it so that it'll absorb more.
Brilliant tip. I never thought of that.
You can also cook your rice if you just have like white rice. You just cook it how you normally would, and then add like a half a jar of salsa, chipotle, tomatillo, or restaurant, and then mix it in. The heat from the rice will cook it a little bit, and then you have a flavored rice.
With salsa, so salsa, like a proper Mexican household would just have salsa as a base ingredient, effectively, like wherever, in mason jars or in a refrigerator or so, and then you're just utilizing it into all of your meats. And then, by the way, then we can also just have this fresh while we're cooking, basically.
Yeah.
Your house is probably the most valuable asset you own. But think about it. How much time do you spend taking care of it day to day? Enter Exhale, where you get a dedicated home manager who takes the time to understand your home's unique needs and ensures cleaning, maintenance, and inspections are taken care of. And if you need help with repair or improvement, Exhale will handle that too. Visit exhaleathome.com to learn more and book a consultation. We'll take it from here.
Triangle Wine Company, locally owned and operated. Triangle Wine Company is committed to creating the best shopping experience in fine wine and craft beer.
Hi, this is Nikki with Triangle Wine Company. Wanted to let you know we have an upcoming farm-to-table wine dinner at our Cary location on September the 15th from 6:30 to 8:30. Tickets are $65 per person. Get all the details and your tickets at trianglewineco.com.
If you're using the salsa the way you're telling us you use it, then you're cooking with that same salsa into the sauces that you're making. So if that base ingredient or that base formula is not good, then you're telling everyone, this is what we're starting with.
Yeah.
So you're showing your hand, so it better be damn good.
Yeah.
Do you break into restaurants? I mean, have restaurants tried to buy your salsa? Because it seems like that's something that would normally just be a free thing that they give out.
We're not there yet. I mean, maybe one day. We've done like collaborations with different restaurants like Union Special and Zenfish Poke Bar uses our chips, and
Yeah. Oh, your chips are ridiculous, by
Thank
the
you.
way. Like,
Thank you.
just that on its own could just be your own company.
Yeah.
Like, the chips are crazy. And the chips are also for purchase, like at Rebus and all, like when
Yeah.
you go to these places. And then obviously at the market and all, you can
Yeah.
buy the chips. That's crazy. Like, the chips are delicious. And that's just corn tortillas sliced up and then deep fried in what? Corn oil? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe it's corn oil. I don't know. Maybe it's
Whatever
another
oil.
oil.
Yeah. Whatever oil's around.
Right.
CBD oil. Yeah.
That would be better. I thought my back's feeling a little bit looser all of a sudden. Well, let's talk about that. You know, going into restaurants, or I think you've said in previous interviews that maybe you at some point you would like to have your own brick and mortar. What is the next step? And is at this point, like, are you doing all that you can for one person out of the kitchen that you're working at?
So brick and mortar, I don't know. I have 3 children. I homeschool.
Oh, wow.
We have the business, and our business is our full-time job. Like my husband and I, this is our full-time job.
Well, this is your husband's business too.
Yeah,
Like,
this
this is
is
how
us.
you guys are supporting your family.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you always been homeschooling, or is that a pandemic feature?
So I kind of dabbled in homeschooling. My son, before the pandemic, they went to a school where they went Monday and Wednesday, and then the rest of the days I homeschooled them. But no, we're just homeschooling now. But,
And how old? What are the ages?
8, 7, and 3.
Jeez, you are in it, lady.
I mean, yeah, it's
I'm in
no
the
joke.
thick
It's
of
called
it.
Mama's Salsa.
Yeah.
You are a straight up mom.
Yes.
While doing this business. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So-
How does your husband contribute? What's his role?
So,
He tastes. He's the taster.
Yeah, it's like,
A little more
so he
picante.
actually has never had the
Try it again.
avocado lime. Like
what?
he doesn't like avocados.
Ugh.
He hasn't. He just won't even
one of
because he knows
those.
he's not from California. That's why.
Yeah.
He's not Latino, right? Not
No, he's not.
plays a factor in any of this,
No,
but
he's not.
he wasn't raised on these flavors.
No, he
Yeah.
wasn't.
I'll cut him a
I
break.
understand that. You
Yeah.
know, we're just different. It's different cultures. But what was the question?
What is his role other than saying he hates the avocado lime?
My husband plays a major role in this. Honestly, like I'm very much like, oh, this is happening. Let's do this. Like this is happening. Let's do this. And he's like, settle down. Like we need to think about this.
You're one person.
Yes, I'm one person, and it's just us two. And he buys the supplies, he makes the chips, he washes the produce. Like when we go make salsa, it's just me and him doing it. And so he does the taxes, all the
So
stuff.
he's like sous chef / administrative.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Executive.
And everything else in between.
Yeah. And was he doing another job before you started
So
doing
he
this?
was working on the food truck with his parents.
Okay. So
And
he has a
then-
background in culinary.
Yes, he did that for years. And then once the pandemic, the food truck was done for a while. And then we really picked up on the salsa. Like during the pandemic, we never slowed down. Like we didn't stop.
Yeah.
Thank God. Like,
Yeah, because
You're a
people
CPG.
still-
You're a consumer packaged good, and people can buy this stuff to take home. I mean, that was a good thing for
yeah.
you.
And
You
we
didn't
would
have
just
to
take
shut down.
pre-orders like, hey, this is where we're going to be. Meet us here. And then we also were out of, was it Coan and Cary? When they did that
Yeah.
grocery, we supplied
Sold
them with
them.
salsa.
Oh, cool.
And so, we haven't stopped.
So I love this. So this is a true success story where you organically grew a business to now where it's supporting your family.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. We had a crazy weekend. Like it was nuts. And finally when all was said and done, like Sunday, I don't want to get emotional, but like we're sitting on the couch, we're watching a movie, And I was thinking, man, this is our life. Like we get to do this together, We're tired, but our boys see our hard work. We're happily married. We're growing our business. And just had a moment of just being so thankful.
Yeah.
In
That's
that
amazing.
moment. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I shared that same feeling this morning, actually, as I was dropping my kids off for camp or whatever. My littlest one, Charlotte, said, "I love telling my friends that you're opening up Crafton, and they all want to get a job there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm hiring." And then Alexander, my older one, who's 11, she's like, "Oh yeah, all my friends can't wait. Like they've already set it up. Like the weekend they're open, we're gonna go. We're so excited that your dad's doing this." And then it's just like it's a huge feel of pride, and you realize that your children are watching everything you're doing, and then you can be inspiring to them, and conversely, you could also be doing the wrong things, right? And so, as we stated earlier, so it's like, trying to live that good life and provide well for your family, and then to be able to do it as a family. I kidded around. I was opening up the bag of chips and I said, "Who twist tied this thing so many times?" Like, "Oh, that was my son." I'm like, "That's it. Tell him, fix that." But that's the joke. Is like, your little, not the joke. That's the reality. Your kids are literally hand touching the final products of little things, and it's like, this is a family business, and that's heartwarming. That's old school too.
Yeah, it is. It's not. I mean, nowadays it's not like the traditional way of the way things are being done, but we've been able to just make it work. If this works for us, like, I'm not messing with it right now. Like, this is just works.
Yeah, so because like a brick and mortar would probably inspire that you do more than salsa, right? I mean, no offense, but you don't go to a restaurant just for salsa. So, I mean, it could be a brick and mortar that's retail, and you could buy a salsa, of course. But pie in the sky, dreaming. Would you said you fancy yourself as a chef a little here. Like, would you just like focus on, this is what I would do if I was you, if you wanted to do it.
Let me mansplain this to you.
Yeah. Here, get a piece of paper. Cursive, not because I'm going to talk fast. But like, maybe you do a thing. I always find that like when you do a specific thing, like you did already with salsa, which is very pinpointed in, but like, if you open up a Mexican restaurant, you're like, "Oh yeah, we do everything. We do the sopes and the tacos and the burritos and all that." No. Just do like tacos, or just do. But even that's been overdone so many times.
I have the thing.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
You're not going to share it with us.
I'm not going to share it.
But yeah, that's fine.
I have it.
But you do a thing, and then you fuel it with mama salsa inside, and then it's like, oh, then people covet it. They crave it. They're like, "Oh, I want to get that thing." Because, anyone can make tacos, anyone can make a burrito, but if you did like a particular thing that sets you aside from everyone else, then that merits like why you should maybe have a brick and mortar and do something like that.
For sure.
So you're thinking, though. That's good.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
But I'm
always
wondering,
thinking.
So like, you have this beautiful setup with your family, your home, you're making it, and that allows you also to nurture your family. But what if, like, let's say Target comes to you and be like, "We love your salsa. We want to put it in, 300 locations across the country."
Yes, please.
Well, yes, please. But then you have to get, first of all, could you scale your recipe? You have to probably hire people, get a kitchen, and then like figure out how you're going to make it so it can be preserved on a shelf.
I don't think I'll ever, I won't say I don't think I'll ever, but preserving it changes it. It's not it won't be the same product.
Right.
So, I mean, if Target ever came, or Walmart, or Lowe's Foods, or, Food Lion, whatever, my husband's always like, that could be a possibility. And when it happens, like, let's run with it.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, come on, why wouldn't you?
Non-preservative salsas.
They do. There's
in
tons.
so many places.
There's tons.
They're in the deli counter, or like in the walk-in counters of places, and those are the ones I tend to like to buy anyways. Like,
Sure, but totally. But they usually make them in house, right? Like they have their own.
You can purchase them. So,
like Whole Foods, maybe, or even though they're owned by Amazon, is more like a market like that. But still, how do you preserve that if you're shipping it across the country and you need it in X amount of hundreds of retail locations? That's a different story at that point.
But I mean, there are things out there, like there's bread on the shelf, fresh bread or fresh produce.
Or Mama just has 15 commissaries all over the nation, because that's not that expensive either.
I'll take it.
You're like, cool, we have hubs all over.
Now you're thinking,
well, that's the way you do it, and then you're like, everything's regional to that region.
Yeah.
And the salsa's there.
Train mamas all around the country.
Budweiser did with breweries, right? It's like you just do that. There is a will to do, like if Target wanted your brand and they want your brand, that's what we talked about, like when Anheuser-Busch took over Wicked Weed. They didn't want to go, "Hey, we're taking over Wicked, we're buying you out so that you could taste like Budweiser." They're like, no, we want you to be you, because we want to get that money that people like about your thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't think Target in this scenario would say, "Yeah, cool, we want to buy you out so that you could be just like Pace Picante sauce."
Right.
New York City. But that's the cool part, and then and that's because of companies like Amazon. You could then ship everything very quickly on dry ice or whatever you needed to do in refrigerated vans. It could be done. That's not a problem at all. But,
see, what you just said is brilliant, though. But damn it, why hasn't In-N-Out figured that out yet? Then
please, somebody tell me.
They're assholes. That's why.
Are
Why?
Yeah, they don't want to come further. Their whole thing is like, we don't want to go beyond where our sourcing comes from.
Right,
And I'm
where they
like,
could
that's
truck.
bullshit.
Are you
You
kidding
can source anything anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I think they just don't want to.
Why?
They just don't want
What's
to
wrong?
expand beyond where they're at. They're like, no, we're good. Like, that's fine.
Well, isn't
and
there
maybe it's
some beauty
quality
in-
of life. Maybe
Yeah.
that's all they want.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So they're not assholes. Maybe they're the most well-adjusted people in business that we'll ever know.
You know, the old adage, don't get too big for your britches.
Yeah.
So no, those burgers are damn good.
They're so good.
Like,
'Cause you
no
can get
offense
them
to Five Guys. Five Guys is pretty damn good.
But it's not the same.
Right, and it's the
just-
closest that I just mentioned Five Guys. It's the closest I think you can find east of the Mississippi.
What about Cookout?
Oh, no.
No?
Cookout's
They
fine
do that
when
thick layer of onion on
See,
there.
you don't drink anymore or get high. But as someone that may have done that before, maybe this week, Cookout's great for those moments, but Cookout does not stand
No.
even
Honestly, I
close
just make my own burgers.
to an
It's fine.
In-N-Out.
Yeah, you probably make a damn good burger, I bet. Well, you know, we had this little event with some undercover or the punk rock food scene.
Yes,
You're kind
all
of
best.
you're kind of like there. I think I need to taste. I tasted your salsa. I want to taste your food now. And like, what's this idea? So
know.
we're just gonna have to create. Or next event,
Put Mama
you
to
are-
work.
You are a food vendor.
That's the
it's
pop-up.
done.
It's
Stay tuned.
Put Mama in the kitchen.
Put Mama in the
Yes.
kitchen.
Oh, Mama's in the kitchen as a pop-up. There
Yeah.
you go. It's like we're forcing Mama to make us dinner.
I have a feeling we don't have to force her. I think we
Yeah.
can easily
Willingly.
coax her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
This is awesome.
Well, I was going to give you, I don't know, your husband as well, probably sober too?
Yes.
Because we'll give you the kids the proof alcohol ice cream. We're not going to give you a proof alcohol ice cream today, unless you have a friend that wants it or whatever. But respectfully, we'll
Thank
omit
you.
that from your gift package as you go out. But that doesn't mean all of you other little drunks out there don't want to have some alcohol and ice cream mixed into the same little pint of 7% alcohol ABV in every pint. That's proof alcohol ice cream, which thinks differently about dessert. So check them out. You can find them anywhere retail places are, like Lowe's and Total Wine, Harris Teeter, but of course, our favorite retailer that sells alcohol or beer and wine would be the Triangle Wine Company.
yeah, that's right. And at the Triangle Wine Company, like everywhere else, they have the little red freezers where you find the proof ice cream. And then while you're there, you can pick up wine or beer or maybe
Sodas?
sodas. Maybe we could talk to Chris Roche over there and get some Mama Salsa on the
Yes.
shelf at
Why
Triangle
not?
Wine
Do it.
Company. Because
Why
why not? But yeah, because they have everything for your beverage needs. And imagine you
Yes.
could pick up some chips and salsa to have with your beer. It would be
You know, I will say,
fantastic.
brainstorming a little bit, what Jen Randall did over at Proof Alcohol Ice Cream was she saw a situation where, okay, my stuff has to be frozen everywhere, so let's just buy the freezers and then put them in. And then once they're in, they're kind of hard to get out. You know what I mean? They're like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah,
you're
gotta fill
there, and you got a spot, so we need the reorder. So maybe
Stock
Mama
fridge.
Salsa needs to get a little fridge, a salsa fridge.
I like that.
And
Good idea.
you know, maybe it's got like, it looks like you're hugging someone when like the door's open. It's like the door opens, the open hug from Mama. And
Open
then
your heart up to some Mama Salsa.
Yeah, bring in the fridges, and then that way everyone knows. Okay, that's what the salsa is.
What did you say earlier? Reach into us?
Reach into us. See, that's Mama Salsa. Reach into.
everything
reach
is
into the
so
fridge.
much there's so much synchronicity today.
Yeah, it's like I'm Sting over here.
Yeah, trianglewineco.com. Go there and use the NCFB promo code. Crystal, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing your wares. I know you made me happy, and our wives are going to be happy. I know
Yes.
my wife is also a Californian and loves salsa.
They're not getting any of this. It's not even making.
Yeah, I don't
We're
know
gonna
if it'll
mow it
make
down
them.
right now.
But go out and find yourself some Mama Salsa. You will eat extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.